What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about a topic that I actually think is really, really, really overlooked when it comes to TF2 and just generally what people think about in general. And that is what makes TF2 such a goddamn successful and awesome game. Because, I mean, if you look at all the other FPS games out there, like, there are very, very few in history that can say they have maintained this level of popularity over almost like 6 years now. So I'm bad with time. Give me a break. Anyway, so I thought today I try and talk about, why is this game so goddamn addictive and why can't people stop playing it? And I think for me, the big thing this is going to come down to today, and the thing you're going to keep hearing me talk about, is diversity. I mean, I just think the fact that this game is so diverse and there are so many different ways to play the game is the reason for its success. I mean, just starting off, you have 9 classes, and the big thing about these classes is that they're not like, a lot of other games where, they might have, an extra 1 or 2% speed bonus and, a tiny little bit less damage. These are like game-changing differences between the 9 classes. The differences aren't small. Each class is a totally different role. And the awesome part about that is it creates a kind of scissors, paper, rock type mechanic where, spy counters engineer, pyro counters spy, other classes counter pyro, and like you've got this kind of big circle of life going on where every class counters the other class. And because of that, that is why it is Team Fortress 2. Because you actually have to really think about, how you can really help your team at the moment. I mean, like, you're not going to win with 9 snipers. Whereas in a lot of other games, you can have 9 of the same class, and you'll do perfectly fine. Whereas in TF2, you really have to focus on actually thinking about having a good kind of makeup of your team. Otherwise, well, you're going to lose. Now, this actually means that you can, continually switch up game modes, or continually switch up classes, and never get bored of it, because it's almost like playing an entirely different game. I mean, the differences between playing something like Heavy as opposed to playing something like Soldier is absolutely massive. It totally changes your gameplay style. Whereas in, you're going to hear me use Call of Duty as an example quite often, because it seems to be a game people are getting really sick of. Although it's actually done quite well over its kind of franchise lifetime. But anyway, in a game like Call of Duty, you might have, different perks that technically, give yourself a different class. But at the end of the day, you're walking around the map, same guns, shooting people, and your playstyle is relatively similar no matter what you do. In TF2, it completely changes between the 9 classes. There are very few similarities between the two. Now, the other really big thing for me, which Valve kind of built on top of the whole class epicness thing, is weapons. And, first up, a lot of people might say, oh, well, TF2 isn't special, Call of Duty, Battlefield, all those other things, they've got at least as many weapons as TF2 has. But, for me, that's not really the key thing. In games like Call of Duty, yes, there are more weapons in terms of number, but if you actually look at those weapons, you might have 50 different assault rifles, but the fact is, they're all assault rifles. And the differences between the two are basically how the model looks in your hand, and maybe a 1 or 2% slower firing speed traded off for an extra 1 or 2% damage. And when you're actually playing the game, the difference really isn't that noticeable, and it's not really going to affect how you play at all. In TF2, they have done an incredible job of making each and every weapon so different from the other. Like right now, you can see Scout holding Mad Milk. Absolutely nothing to do with the pistol. And even, so it can completely change how you play. The second thing, like another example, is even when weapons, they're not as different like the Mad Milk. So, for example, looking at the loose cannon compared to the normal grenade launcher. They change it up. So it adds knockback, it's got, you have to account timing into that, it's got double donking. It is a completely different weapon to use. Yes, you can use it like the grenade launcher, but you're only going to do a fraction of the damage the weapon can really do, and not really use it to its full capability. And then on top of that, when you get bored, you can go and try and knock people into saws on Sawmill, and it's just crazy. And then even more so, you've got stuff like, right there, the Demo Knight. holy crap, it totally changes up the whole way that you play the class. I mean, you're no longer even a ranged class. You're a melee class, and you've gone from someone who normally sits back and puts sticky traps down, waiting for them to come through where you blow them up, to someone who's literally charging straight into the face of all the enemies and absolutely destroying people. Now, this is just... it's incredible, because you cannot get bored of the game, because, you know, even once you've gone through all 9 classes, you just open up TF2, change a couple of weapons around, play again, and it's like an entirely different game. I think if you do the maths, there's thousands and thousands of different combinations of weapons you can use. And unlike most other games, when you change up that combination, it makes a seriously noticeable difference. I mean, I really think that is the reason that TF2 is just so goddamn popular, and the reason that no one ever really seems to get bored of this game. I mean, if you look at your friends list, even if... I mean, people have generally got, you know, a ton of hours on TF2, and then only a few hours on other games. Because other games, you know, you pick them up, you play the campaign, and you're like, yeah, well, that's a game done. Or even if it does have multiplayer, it just gets boring after a while. TF2 is like 1,000 games combined into one, where, you know, as soon as I'm sick of jumping around with the rocket launcher, I'll just quickly change it over and pull out the direct hit, or anything like that. And it just means that this is a game that you can never, ever, ever get tired of. Well, in the foreseeable future, anyway. So yeah, they're my thoughts on the game. I'd love to know what you guys think. I mean, I'm sure everyone has got their own play style, their own thoughts on the game, and I reckon that all the different stuff that people think about why it makes it so popular can be really interesting to see. So check that in the comments down below. I'll read it all, reply to a lot, and I will see you guys next time.